What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we're going to be taking a very deep look at the bullet drop as well as bullet travel time in Blackout for Black Ops 4. This is something a lot of people have been asking about, and I was personally very curious as well, because before this testing, I didn't really know if this was based on caliber or weapon type or what exactly controlled the bullet drop of a weapon. And I also wanted to see the effects that Extended Barrel and Suppressor had on your bullet drop as well as your bullet travel time. So now that we have custom games, I was finally able to test this with a lot greater accuracy. I started doing testing on this when the game first launched, and it was just ridiculous trying to find weapons and then getting to a consistent spot. But now that we have these custom games, I went in, I found every single one of the guns in Blackout, and I put their bullet drop and travel time to the test. Just so you guys can see the methodology, what I did is I found the gun, I went to this exact same spot at Turbine every single time, and I had the exact same point of aim every time with every one of the weapons. This big wind turbine here was perfect for the bullet drop testing because you can really clearly see the hits as I shoot it. And it's also great because it's a nice vertical scale that we can use, and I plotted all of the points for every one of the weapons on that turbine. I also wanted to mention bullet travel time, and just keep in mind your bullet travel time in this game is directly correlated to your bullet drop. So the more bullet drop you have, the slower your bullet is moving, and therefore the longer it's going to take to hit your target. And this is really significant when we're talking about hitting moving targets at longer ranges, because it means you have to lead your shot more. We'll get into bullet travel time a bit more later on when we get into the attachments like Extended Barrel and Suppressor, but let's just focus on the bullet drop for now. So let's start going through it. As you can see here, that was my point of aim for every one of the weapons right at the top of that red ring. And let's start it off from the least amount of bullet drop and then go all the way down to the weapons with the most bullet drop in the game. For the weapons that have the least amount of bullet drop, no surprise here, this is going to be the sniper rifles. And it turns out all of the sniper rifles have the exact same bullet drop. I thought it was different, but based on my testing here, it is completely identical. Even the SDM, which is a semi-automatic sniper rifle, and it took ages for me to find this, by the way. I think it took me about an hour of searching to find an SDM for this testing. But all of the sniper rifles have that exact same bullet drop, and even at that decently long range, it's barely any bullet drop at all. So most of the time, you want to be aiming pretty much directly on your target unless you're looking at extremely long ranges with sniper rifles. As for the next category of bullet drop, we have the VKM 750 as well as the Essex Model 87, which is that zombies rifle that is generally not worth picking up. As you can see here, both of them have very little bullet drop. They're just below the sniper rifles, and this was kind of surprising because the VKM 750 is a 50 caliber, so I can kind of understand that one. But with the Essex Model 87, this is a 7.62, just like a bunch of the assault rifles in this game, yet it has very little bullet drop, so I guess that's the one and only upside to using the Essex. Now after that, we have the big category, and this category actually includes every one of the assault rifles, all of the LMGs aside from the VKM 750, including the Zweihander, which is that double barrel LMG you get in the zombies areas, and also all of the tactical rifles fall into this. This one was quite surprising to me. I thought we would see a bit more variance between 7.62 and 5.56, but it turns out all of these weapons have the exact same bullet drop as well as bullet travel time. Moving on to the next category, this one drops down pretty significantly. We're starting to get into the SMGs here. We've got the MX9, the SOG 9mm, and the Cordite together. And these are all the best SMGs when it comes to bullet drop. Even though there is still a lot of bullet drop, it's much better than some of the other ones. After that, we've got the category with the RK7 pistol as well as the GKS. Just below that, we've got the Spitfire as well as the Damon. Then dropping off a little bit more, we have the Strife. And then finally, the gun with by far the worst bullet drop in Blackout, we have the Mozu, which hit right at the bottom of this turbine. I also want to point out with the Mozu, it took several seconds for that bullet to hit the turbine, whereas with the other guns in the game, it was generally between 1 to 2 seconds or so. This one was very surprising to me. I did expect the Mozu to have a good amount of bullet drop, but I thought it would fall somewhere within the range of the other pistols. Turns out it is by far the worst when it comes to bullet drop and travel time. So that's all of the weapons mapped out for you guys with their bullet drop in Blackout. And overall, I was quite surprised to see that caliber doesn't really seem to matter at all when it comes to this bullet drop. It's more so just separated into different categories. Having said that, not all categories are properly grouped together. For instance, we've got a couple different categories of SMGs. You don't have all of the SMGs with the same bullet drop. And then even then, when you separate the SMGs, they're not separated necessarily by caliber because there's some 45s that have the same bullet drop as 9mm, and it just kind of is all over the place. So this is an image you may want to save if you ever want a quick reference for the amount of bullet drop that a weapon has. Putting all of this together took quite a bit of time. It took me about 3 or 4 hours to put this all together and do the testing and find every single one of the weapons within Blackout. Looking at it now, it seems like such a minor thing, but man, it took a lot of effort. Now let's move into the attachments, and the attachments that will generally affect bullet drop or travel time, or at least the ones that I thought would affect bullet drop and travel time, are Extended Barrel as well as Suppressor. Let's start it off with Suppressor because this one's actually really easy to cover. I tested the bullet drop and travel time with Suppressor, and it turns out, quite surprisingly, Suppressor in Blackout has no impact at all on your bullet drop or your travel time. This was extremely surprising to me. For some reason, I thought it was coded that the Suppressor would reduce your muzzle velocity and therefore increase your bullet drop, even though in real life it's technically the opposite, but in video games that tends to be how they code it. I tested this very thoroughly. I double-checked and triple-checked this because I was surprised by the results. Suppressor has no impact on your bullet drop or travel time. It does reduce your range values very slightly, but that's pretty much it. The rest is all upside. It makes it so your shots are quieter, and also the tracers from your bullets are a lot harder to see for enemies, so it can be a little bit more difficult to pinpoint where the shots are coming from exactly. So after this testing, I'm actually going to be picking suppressors up a lot more often. I used to completely avoid them because I thought it just made it harder to hit your target because of the increased travel time and bullet drop. But it turns out it has no negative impact on those values. So Suppressor is quite easy. Now let's get into Extended Barrel. And this definitely has an impact on your travel time and bullet drop. This is one of the biggest reasons you want Extended Barrel. It's one of the most powerful attachments. When it comes to bullet drop, I tested this on several of the weapons. It will reduce your bullet drop by roughly 40 to 50% depending on the weapon. This is a massive change to your bullet drop, and it means that you don't have to be aiming as high over your targets when they're at longer ranges. In addition to that, our bullet travel time is reduced by 25 to 30% based on my testing with several of the weapons. It always seemed to fall within that range, and again, this is going to make it a lot easier to hit your targets, especially when they're moving. This means that you don't have to lead the targets as much. You can aim pretty much right on them unless they're at a really long distance, and in those cases, you don't have to lead them quite as much as you would if you didn't have Extended Barrel on, and this just makes Extended Barrel incredibly powerful within Blackout. Now, one other thing I wanted to mention, and I actually got this wrong in a video I did a few days ago talking about multiplayer versus Blackout stats. Extended Barrel does in fact increase your range by a very small amount. It's not like multiplayer where with assault rifles it literally doubles your range values. All it does is it increases your range by roughly 10% or so, and this is why I missed that in my initial testing, because I was doing very basic testing for that video, because the scope of that video was mainly just like, what are the differences in stats, so I just tested with a few different weapons, and it seemed like everything was the same, and it turns out I actually made quite a few mistakes in that video, and that's why I decided to actually take that video down. There's just too many things that were wrong. Normally, if I make a little mistake here or there, I'll just make my correction and everything will be fine, but I'm not happy with how that video turned out, so I decided to take that down, and if you guys did see that, I would highly encourage you guys to check out Drifter's video on the subject. I'll actually leave a link to it down below, because he did much more thorough testing than me, and his information was a lot more correct than mine. Now, having said that, when I was watching his video and comparing his bullet drop and bullet travel time numbers, I am very confident in my numbers on this. I did extremely thorough testing with this, and those numbers in his video were quite a bit off. So I would definitely encourage you guys to trust his numbers when it comes to the damages and the ranges that he showed. But when it comes to the bullet drop and travel time, I am very confident that I've done much more thorough testing, and these numbers are the accurate ones that you should be looking at. So we got a little bit off track there, but getting back to it, Extended Barrel is amazing for reducing that bullet drop and also bullet travel time, and the slight increase to your range, I'd just call that a little bonus that generally won't have an impact on most of the fights that you find yourself in within Blackout. And with that, we're going to wrap up today's video, but of course, I'd like to know in the comment section below, what did you guys think about these results? Were there any surprises when it came to your bullet drop and bullet travel time? Is this going to change which attachments you will pick up and equip on your weapons? Just let me know what you guys are thinking in the comment section down below. Personally, I ran into so many surprises while putting this video together. I was amazed that Suppressor had no impact on your bullet drop or travel time. I was also surprised to see that weapons weren't necessarily grouped by caliber. They were kind of all over the place, and there were some weird groupings when it came to the bullet drop. It was also quite interesting with sniper rifles to see that they have very little bullet drop. I always thought they had a little bit more bullet drop just based on my regular playtime. But after doing this testing, I've actually been sniping a little bit, and I've noticed that I've held less over top of my target, and my accuracy has gone up quite significantly. One more thing I'd like to know from you guys, if you stuck through all the way to the end of the video, is what other sorts of things would you like to see tested in Blackout? I'm definitely planning on incorporating more of these Blackout breakdown type videos. I am going to be much more thorough with my testing and more careful with my testing, so just let me know down below what you would like to see broken down. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.